Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my retro review for Bride of Frankenstein, which came out in 1935, 90 years ago, and is the sequel to 1931's Frankenstein. Taking place soon after the events of the last movie, Henry Frankenstein, played again by Colin Clive, has decided not to pursue the creation of life. He just wants to spend time with his wife, but an old colleague of his, Dr. Pretorius, has decided to rope him back into the creation of life. At the same time, we find out that Frankenstein's monster has survived the burning of the windmill at the end of the last movie. You know, the one where the monster throws Henry over the side and he smacks into one of the windmill arms, and you're just like, how is that dude not dead? So anyway, the monster has survived. He is burnt up. Pretorius finds the monster and uses him to blackmail Henry into creating a bride for the monster, which is why the movie is called Bride of Frankenstein. Sequels are in abundance. We get so many of them consistently, and most of the time, they don't hold a candle to the original movie. But every so often, you do get a sequel that is not only as good as the original, but surpasses it. I'm talking about The Godfather Part 2, Terminator 2, The Empire Strikes Back, Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, Winter Soldier. So many sequels that end up being as good, if not better, than the first movie, but I think the very first one might actually be Bride of Frankenstein. While it's not the first sequel ever made, I think it's fair to say that this is probably the first sequel that surpasses the original. Bride of Frankenstein is just an infinitely better movie to an already iconic masterpiece. What's interesting about Bride of Frankenstein is that while it may not be as iconic as the original film, with the exception of two moments, it is a vastly superior movie in terms of its filmmaking, the emotion that's tied to it, and just so many technical aspects. This movie came out 2 years after King Kong, which I cite as the movie that really pushed sound film to a new level, where it had a non-stop sweeping score and took advantage of every bit of sound that it could take advantage of. Bride of Frankenstein is the same way, where we get an original score throughout the entire movie, and it's a great one. There are a lot more sound effects and is void of a lot of quiet moments like the original movie had. And there's also just a lot more heart to this film, I feel. It has to do with the fact that this is more the monster's movie, not Henry's movie. Frankenstein focused more on Henry Frankenstein, him creating life and dealing with the consequences and the guilt of it. This movie, however, is about the monster, and Boris Karloff is given so much more to do in this film. A year after Frankenstein came out, Boris Karloff was in The Mummy, where he played Imhotep, a role that really allowed him to show off his vocal charisma and prove that he can do more than just play mute characters. And now 3 years after The Mummy, he gets to do so much in Bride of Frankenstein as the monster, and you feel so much sympathy for this character. Once again, he's not a villainous monster. He's a misunderstood misfit who basically kills people out of self-defense or fear, not because he's, like, evil. And one of the most famous sequences in the movie is when he comes across the blind man. Throughout the entire movie, the monster is going around scaring people, they're running away from him in fear, but he comes across this man who is blind, so he doesn't know what the monster looks like, but the blind man takes him in and is so grateful to have a friend that the blind man ends up praying to God. And the monster has some humanity where he starts crying that somebody has actually accepted him. And this is also the sequence where the monster learns to speak and becomes more than just a grunting monster. It's a really sweet moment and gives a lot of layers to this character. And the other iconic thing about the movie is the bride herself. Now, this is an interesting Universal monster because this is the only movie she's in. She doesn't appear until the end of the film, and her appearance lasts no more than 5 minutes. And yet, despite all that, she has become one of the most classic and iconic Universal monsters with that giant beehive hairdo. It says a lot that you can be in one movie at the end of it for the last few minutes and yet be an icon. The bride is played by Elsa Lanchester, even though in the credits, it's just a big old question mark. And again, her role is not really a whole lot. She does less in this movie as the bride than Boris Karloff did as the monster in the first movie. But Elsa Lanchester also is in the opening of the film playing Mary Shelley. This is an interesting opening because it's not as iconic as the opening of Frankenstein, but it's also a weird opening because they basically recap the end of the last movie and Mary Shelley goes, "Oh, that's not how it ends. There's more to the story." So I keep forgetting that this opening is in the film. It's a weird opening, but I kind of like it, mainly for how beautiful Elsa Lanchester looks in the opening. The rest of the cast is good. Colin Clive is still good as Henry Frankenstein. Ernest Thesiger is really great as Dr. Pretorius. Like, he's so manipulative and so slimy that you kind of love him, but he's not a flat-out villain. Like the first movie, there are no straight-up villains in this movie, except for, I guess, all the people trying to, like, torture the monster and hunt him down. But even then, you kinda get why they have that mentality. Like with the last movie, there's not really a whole lot, if anything, that's really bad. The worst thing I can point to in this movie is something that in our pop culture subconsciousness has been corrected, and that's the film's title. As brilliant as this movie is, the title Bride of Frankenstein has unfortunately confused audiences for decades in thinking that the monster is called Frankenstein. Because when you really think about it, what does the title mean? Like, Bride of Frankenstein doesn't mean that it's the bride of the monster, because the monster is not called Frankenstein. So is the bride of Frankenstein as in made from Frankenstein? I don't know, it's a bizarre title. Like, that's the only thing that I would have any issue with this movie, is that the title led to decades-long confusion about the monster being called Frankenstein. And there's another movie in this franchise that would add to that confusion, so we'll touch upon that a little later. But as for Bride of Frankenstein, it is truly a masterpiece. It is the first sequel that surpasses the original in every shape and form, which is saying a lot considering how amazing that original Frankenstein is. So I say get off your ass and go see it right now. Out of all the Universal Monster sequels, and I feel confident saying this right now, even though I haven't seen a majority of the others, this is probably the only one that I say is easily worth seeing on its own. It has so many great moments, so many heartfelt moments, and it gives the monster a lot more to do and makes him a more sympathetic character. So it's a masterpiece in every sense of the word. And there you go, that's my review for Bride of Frankenstein. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, from this point on, I have not seen any of the other Universal Frankenstein films. So next time we're going to be talking about a movie that some say is another great installment of the Frankenstein series, Son of Frankenstein. This one wasn't directed by James Whale, so I'm curious to see how I'll feel about the movie once I actually see it. So thank you guys so much for watching this review, and I want to give a special thank you to my subscribers and YouTube members right over here. You guys are the reason why this channel continues to grow every day, and if you want to help to financially support the channel, you can do so via YouTube memberships for as little as $1.99 a month. But until next time, I want to know what you guys think about Bride of Frankenstein. Whatever your opinions are, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. If you want to find me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me on these social media platforms and my theme park and travel channel right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.